Let's see. Um, CRASHDOM. All right. This is us. 7 p.m. ish. Ish. Friday. It's time. It's time. Time to do what? To do our VodCast. What are we going to do our VodCast about? Well, there's a lot of exciting news in fake gaming journalism this week that we could engage with, but instead we're just going to talk about playing games. So, yep. This, like 1 hour from now, last week, so that's some advanced time traveling there. So, you played your first game as a player of Cyberpunk Red.
Yep.
And 6 days ago, I played, not my first game of Vampire the Masquerade, far from it, but my first game of Vampire the Masquerade in over 20 years, because I'm a very old person, super old man. I had a blast. I had a very good time. And I hope that you had a very good time. And as bros and friends who like have different interests and hobbies, but also like to share those hobbies, we're gonna show and tell about our experiences last week. Even though we both streamed and recorded the experience, so we could probably just watch it. But I want to hear it from you. So I want to know, you've been running for over 50 sessions. How many sessions are you on now of your Cyberpunk game?
54.
54. So one might say, not only are you're also paid for this task. So you are a professional Cyberpunk Red game master storyteller. So you have never actually been a player in the game. I've heard you've played the video game once or twice. So yeah, just a couple times, just a few playthroughs. So how does it all hold up? How does it all measure up? You go first, and then I'll share Vampire. You got 25 minutes. sell us on the shit.
All right.
It doesn't have to be the full 25 minutes because we might have Q&A from the chat and everything. But
okay.
All right.
So being a player for the first time, it was actually kind of refreshing because but I also realized, man. Some of the decisions my players have to make, just in terms of character development, are like, I don't know, like maybe struggle. I can tell they're probably struggling sometimes when they're like trying to decide which skills they need to upgrade and stuff like that, because it's such a very open system that and there's so many skills, and there's such a limited resource on what you can spend those skills on. It's not like in D&D, where if I'm like a fighter, I'm only going to get fighter stuff going, as I level up. And the choice is whether I choose to get fighter stuff or I choose to get a different class's stuff. Whereas in this one, it's like, okay, there's 30 something skills, and you have enough points to maybe buy 3 of them.
Yikes.
That's rough. Buy a point in 3 of them.
Yeah. Okay.
And so yeah, and then another thing too is that because it's a very modern setting, you never really know what you're going to be dealing with and when a skill will be useful. So what you do is you build a character around a theme, and then you try and make your solutions benefit, take advantage of your skills. Which in the case of this game, so let me just back a bit. The game that I played was a one-shot run by Carsafona. It was called Hotel Crash. We went to.
Was this an original homebrew adventure or one that they purchased online?
I'm assuming original because I've never heard of it. Okay. So I'm thinking he's in chat. He'll let us know. Okay. I'm pretty sure it was original.
I saw that Crash was spelled with a K, so I did not call my lawyer. Okay. All right. All right. Keep going.
Yeah, because then if you did that, then Crash Bandicoot would probably come over and then call their lore.
Fair.
Okay. Anyways, original. I think it was original. It was just 3 players. The character I built was a net runner. Whose theme was they were a survivalist. So but So they were a net runner / rocker girl. And so they had a bunch of fans. And what they did was they went through jumped inside the different net architectures, and then recorded their experience as like a survivalist. Like, okay, I'm in the net. This program you see right here is a hellhound, and then she'll talk about what hellhounds are, and then pretty much like do the whole like survival reality show thing. And so that's what's her theme. And so I put all the points in. We were a level 7, rank 7 rocker boy, and a rank 7 netrunner.
Wait,
and
so
then
you were two different classes? You can multi-class in Cyberpunk?
Yes, you can multi-roll in Cyberpunk,
Uh-huh.
but the way they do is that you cannot increase your roll. You cannot multi-roll until your previous roll is level 4, rank 4.
Okay.
So you can't. Yeah. So and the like theme behind is that whenever you switch to a new role, the world is going to address you like you retired your old role and you started this new one.
Okay.
Even though you still have your skills, you can still use it. You still have all your connections and all the benefits for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the world's going to treat you like you retired.
Okay.
Yeah. In this case, they were a netrunner first, a rocker boy second, and so they started their thing. It was pretty cool. It was nice being able to do netrunner stuff because that's the class I always wanted to play in it. So I got it. It was fun to get a chance to do that. We were also in the process of testing out some of the homebrew, the new place test material for the 2077 stuff. A little bit of that was in there as well. Overall, though, as a player, it makes me like how open the system is again. Seeing actually being able to test. Like, okay, I have this skill. This is how we want to solve it. Or like, I have this ability. This is how we want to take it. Like, as a rocker boy, one of the things you can do is if you're high enough rank, you can convince a fan to pretty much give up their life for you.
Right.
You can you can pretty much they'll fight to the death. Put their life in danger for you. And so when we were during the mission, apparently we were talking to the client who was giving us the mission, and the client had a bunch of bodyguards, right? And one of the credit to Carsafona, he made one of the bodyguards a fan.
Okay, nice.
So I was able to.
We got Carsafona in chat, so I'm curious: is that 100% storyteller decision? Are there mechanics to help you determine if someone is a fan, if there's a rocker boy in the party, or did Carsafona create either on the spot or ahead of time, knowing there's gonna be a rocker boy, I'll roll this kind of check, or there'll be this percentage chance that a person is a rocker boy, or was it an arbitrary storyteller decision?
So I think it's both. As a rocker boy, you have an ability that you can generate a fan, talk to somebody for a third.
Oh, that's
for some amount of time. Roll a check, and if you beat the check, they become a fan.
Oh.
And then you have to roll to convince them to do the thing.
Okay.
Or as a storyteller, you can just say, okay, this person's a fan.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Nice.
I'm not sure if in this case I did not roll to generate a fan. I did have to roll to convince him though.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a fan, and we just convinced him to come with us on our mission.
Nice. Okay.
And there was some point in the mission where there was a really long hallway, and we knew that there was supposed to be traps, and we're like, hey, can you check out? And hey fan, can you check out for us? And he went through and he got ripped to shreds by laser grid.
Some reason that reminds me of Witchlight for some reason. I don't know why it makes me think of Witchlight. Yeah. All right. Anyways, yeah. Okay. Okay.
And so yeah, it was good.
Nice.
We had I think Will was playing as a med tech, so he was just making drugs the entire time.
Nice.
And this is another thing too about when you multi-class, you can kind of use each other's abilities in conjunction. So a med tech can only make medical drugs.
Yeah.
They're the only people who can make medical drugs. But a tech can make street drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so by being both a med tech and a tech, you can kind of combine the two processes. So you can invent a new medical drug as a tech.
Okay.
but the only person you can use is the med tech. So that's how they can combine that way. Like there's ways you can use the two if you're creative enough and the game is open enough and vague enough that it allows you to do those type of weird combinations.
So you had mentioned that when you switch classes, you are treated as retiring from the first class. Is that like second edition D&D dual classing? Like, can you not take levels in that class anymore?
No, you can still take levels in it, but the idea is that the rest people are going to treat you like
you're not considered that class in like initial reacts and reputation anymore.
Yes, like when you generate your reputation, they're going to think of you as like if I gain reputation, they'll be like, "Oh, that rocker boy did this," and it used to be a net runner.
That's a cool way to do it, so that you're not completely locked out of your original class.
No, yeah.
So if it was dual classing like 2E, which I'm being re-immersed in thanks to Baldur's Gate 1. Like that was a pain, right? Because they're like, "Oh, you're not a fighter anymore. You can never gain fighter levels again." But it sounds like you get to level 4 with the core skills that you want, but now you have a better idea for a build or a different build, or just the story has kind of pushed you in a different direction. You can change, but then if you needed stuff from your original class, you still have that freedom to go back and get. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
There
was a person in not in this one shot where I was playing, but in the one that we run, we had a character, Carcophone's character Johnny. He was a solo who then became a rocker boy. Who then decided to become a lawman and retired and became a police officer.
Oh, you say does the character retired or did they?
Yeah, they retired. Yeah, they're retired now, so they're not. He's not playing that character anymore.
Oh, okay.
But
I didn't know if I was gonna get a campaign spoiler. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is he retired forever? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it his last day before retirement? Retired? Like
we saw him. They saw him last session. He showed back up. He showed back up last session as an NPC.
Oh, that's lovely. All right.
The police got called.
Nice.
Anyways, so in terms of playing, another couple of things about playing. It's kind of cool seeing the build variety. And one thing I've been using a lot of like characters that are generated from the adventure that I'm running and from the book. But really, the way you make NPCs in this game is the same way you make PCs. So, like, as a player making that character, it might be a pretty interesting way to like maybe I should start making some of my NPCs just be like characters, which is kind of going through the process of actually being a player. Kind of help me push that idea into my head a bit. So that's good. Overall, though, I definitely want to play more, especially now that I've had a chance to it. Like I said, I was gonna pare down on the number of games I'm going to be playing this year after Mythic and Curse of Strahd.
Well, you said you only plan to run one
and play one.
So you're gonna flip flop then? You thinking take a year or so off from running Cyberpunk to run your Strength of Thousands game and then play Cyberpunk so that you still get your Cyberpunk fix?
Yeah, so I think what I might end up doing is try and do whatever I'm running, I play in something else. Whatever I'm playing, I might do that. So I might, since I'm be running Pathfinder, after Season of Ghosts ends, probably try and look for a Cyberpunk game to maybe play in as my one game. If somebody's going to be running, Will was thinking about bringing back Cholt, but making it Cyberpunk instead.
Cyberpunk Cholt, okay.
Well, not necessarily Cholt, but like West Marches, but Cyberpunk.
I think Cyberpunk West Marches could work pretty well, but I mean, is he talking about one GM West March, or is he talking about actually trying to get a real West March going?
No, he's talking about what he did with Cholt, which is him running.
Yeah. No offense. So I mean, but like a one-man West March, it's still pretty cool. But I feel like that'd be an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Be an opportunity. Mm-hmm. But working with others is always a whole ordeal. So yeah.
I mean, it's the system is very much could definitely support something like that with how it works.
I ain't playing Cyberpunk until they get the fucking internet back. All right, I'm not playing. I want Cyberpunk 2077. I don't want play Cyberpunk Red. I don't want to struggle. Okay, I don't want the struggle.
I mean, speaking of 2077,
There's too
so
much struggle.
we use some of the test
Yeah.
content from there, and man, it's broken. It's broken as hell. Like it is so broken.
Yeah.
Like we had to like nerf it mid use because it was so broken. Uh, like when Carson was like, hey, you can use some of this test content from, so I want to see how it works. I was like, are you sure this stuff is broken as hell? Are you sure? And he's like, we're gonna find out. And then one thing happened. It completely like one roll trivialized his entire boss encounter.
That sucks.
So yeah.
Because like a lot of the more advanced technology is like magic, right? When you think about it. When you think about playing the video game, right? Some of the more advanced hacks and stuff like that, like they do trivialize things because So I could definitely see that. Yeah.
So
hold on. I have to evict someone from my room. This thing right here. Hold on. There you go. All right, keep going. Sorry.
No problem. So 27/7. So like, I know the mission kit's supposed to be coming out sometime this year with all the 27/7 stuff. And I definitely do want to run it, and I think it's supposed to be like a 2-shot, 3-shot type of mission booklet. So I wanted to run one, play one. Maybe I'll run that, or if Carson is going to run it, then I'll play in his game. But I'll try and play in his game. But right now, like no one really knows exactly what they're going to be doing for the 27/7 stuff, other than we know that they want to rebalance what it costs to live. Like you're not going to be as poor or like as hard pressed to get. Not so much poor. You probably still be poor because that's the theme of Cyberpunk is being needing money.
Yeah, motivation.
But,
motivation.
But like access to stuff will probably be a bit easier instead of having to like have find a fixer to go buy the thing. As long as you have money, you probably can go buy it. That's probably what they're going to probably do. And then, update the equipment. Most of the equipment from 2077 is in red right now. It's just not quick hacks and not the way the sand dev sand speed thing works. Right now, it just increases your initiative, whereas people want like action surge or something like that.
Right, yeah. They want to feel like the Flash, right? They want to be a speedster or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what they do. Having extra actions is very, very, very strong. So we'll see. But yeah, overall, I enjoy being a player, and it made me want to play some more. Like, I really want to, if anybody runs something on the server, I'm going to be one of the first people to like jump in and be like, hey, can I play?
Okay. Let's check chat here. Let's see. Dom is pro. Wide instead of deep. Yep, fair. Crossphone is embarrassed. Should be. Okay. Let's see. Plenty IP for one shot. It was original adventure. That's awesome. Let's see. Hotel crash, sort of like Hotel and John Wick, but instead of gold coins, use gems. Nice. I'm reworking it to make it more compact. There are mechanics, and I tried to include some stuff players had in the roles. Net running was a challenge for me. I have heard that a lot, that net running is the most challenging part of the game to get right. So, as a net running player on the other side of the screen, as it were, how did you feel about it, Dom, the net running?
I mean, I enjoyed it. The biggest issue that with net running, and this is the main issue that people always have, is that it's designed to happen during combat while the people who are not net running are doing something. That's how it's designed. The problem is that a lot of times where combat will happen, people will have the combat, and then afterwards, okay, wait a second, we're safe. Let me go look through the net for stuff, and then you end up having the net runner, doing their choose your own adventure dungeon run by themselves while everybody else is sitting down and watching, which is the main issue that a lot of people have. What you got to try and do, and I struggle with this sometimes too in our game, is I usually try and have the net architecture there on the same scene, for them to do it when combat hits the fan, so that they could do some net running stuff, and I try and put stuff inside the net architecture that the net runner can't control. Like, it's okay if it's overpowered because that's their role ability. Like, all role ability is supposed to feel overpowered. Like a rocker boy having a random NPC kill themselves for them. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
A solo being able to just add a +4 to their shot to hit just because they spent an action and have that consistently, it's broken. A fixer having access to everything to buy to the point where they can actually, there's a fixer ability that allows you to just multiply your reward for a job by 2.
Well, and I think that that's part of the theme of the characters for this system, right? Is very specialized roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's okay if it's okay if you have a net runner, they trivialize a part of the encounter because they did their role, because that's their thing. Like, that you brought them on here so that they can do that, so that makes this easier.
Right.
So it's okay.
It wouldn't make sense in a heist movie, right, for them to hire a safe cracker and then he doesn't get to crack the safe because the DM's like, well, I don't want you to crack the safe because then it'll make things go too fast and I don't want the adventure to be over too fast. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole idea is there's different jobs they have to do and fulfill. Did you feel that those sort of hyper-focused, those highly specialized roles, but in a one-shot, it made it harder, right? Because you guys just showed up with the characters you wanted to play. There wasn't like, you didn't build a party, right, ahead of time for a one-shot. And so, in chat, we're talking about making a Cyberpunk West Marches and how cool it would be. But at the same time, right, without a wide player base or the option of players to maintain multiple characters within the same world, essentially, you might have 3 solos show up for a mission, and now that mission's going to be very, very hard, right? Because they're going to destroy any combat encounter, sure, but how are they going to get past the technology? How are they going to get past the social encounters? How are they, without that balanced team? So did you feel that in the one shot? Did you feel that?
So one thing, and no, not necessarily. Yes, your roles are very specialized and they break stuff, but like vast majority of the game is based off of your skills, and skills have nothing to do with your role. Like they're like completely separate. I mean, maybe the only person who has some relationship is med techs, and regular techs. They want to have a good tech skill for their roles, and like a nomad would want to have a good driving skill. But that's one skill that they really need, that they might want to invest in. Whereas everything else, like you want to find a solution that benefits your skills. So like, because it's an open world, and it's a one shot, it's open world, it's modern day. Like, if you can think of a way to solve this issue using what skills you have, then that it should be possible. And like, maybe it's kind of hard for a one shot because you have like a set dungeon or something like that. But like, you got to design Cyberpunk one shots to not be like a dungeon or like a linear thing, because you're in a city that's open, and you gotta, like, if there's a solution that somebody comes up with their skills, you got to be able to adapt as a GM on Cyberpunk. It's very open, and that's why a lot of Cyberpunk is played theater of the mind, because you can't prepare for everything that anybody can think of in a whole city. Now, I mean, it's a very skill-based rather than class-based game. So you have your roles. The roles are like very hyper-specific, but you have so many skills, and you have enough points to make a wide enough character that you can, find a solution with some of your skills. Okay. And if you can't do this, if you don't have it, hopefully somebody else in your crew can. So, I wouldn't say there's an issue with the hyper specificity, as long as you're willing to build a character that's not so focused onto one thing. And it's hard to do that because the cost to like upgrade points is so high that you have to spend your points in some other places, or you have to not spend it at all and save up so much.
Or you spend a couple of levels being stagnant while you wait to get enough to buy the higher level things. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like with Pathfinder, how like if you kind of have so many skill increases that, and then they don't let you go up to master or
until
expert,
you get to that certain point,
certain level.
Yeah.
So then you have to spend this thing, and you have to spend it on something else.
Gotcha.
That kind of happens in Cyberpunk.
Does Cyberpunk have a retraining system like Pathfinder 2e, so that if I do purchase some skills because there's some pressure there to purchase the skills instead of holding onto my points, can later on I'd be like, I really didn't want those points. Now can I? Ooh.
I mean, raw, no. You get the skills. You have the skill.
Gotcha.
But okay. They have cyberware that you can use to supplement that. Like there's a chip you can put in your head that gives you the skill that you want. That you might be missing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So overall, then your experience was positive, and you want to keep playing more.
Yes, okay. I definitely want to keep playing. It made me want to play more.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Yep. All right, let me know about Vampire.
Oof, buddy. All right. So here's a quick background. I'm gonna give a background on my Vampire the Masquerade career, as it were. So it's the 90s. All right, we're going to travel back to the 90s. It's the 90s. And Anne Rice made, Interview with the Vampire. And everybody thinks vampires are the fucking coolest. It was like cooler than when when Twilight came out, everybody thought they liked vampires, but it was Twilight vampires. Mm-hmm. This was like the cool vampires. This was the good shit. This was the 90s vampires. So her book was made into a movie. It blew up. It was huge. And then people were like, this is awesome. I need more vampire stuff in my life. Well, fortunately, a game already existed, a tabletop game called Vampire the Masquerade. Now, Vampire the Masquerade is a part of a larger series of games, and I don't believe that Vampire was the first game in this universe. I think the first game was Werewolf the Apocalypse, which... to all you furries out there, is your bread and butter. This is the game that you have been waiting for, and it's always been there. It was there before you were even born. It's always been there. So Werewolf the Apocalypse, it's got some like Norse mythology mashed together with like shamanic like mythology from all different cultures. They're trying to prevent the apocalypse and like Ragnarok, and there's like all these. It's just fucking crazy, right? So they've got that, and then people were like, well, what goes good with werewolves? Vampires. So then you got Vampire the Masquerade, which is such a cool concept because while the werewolves are out there actually trying to save the planet, like Barrett from Final Fantasy VII, you know what I mean? He's like fucking saving the planet out there. That's what the werewolves are doing. The vampires are just fighting with each other. They're just fighting over like control of the humans, control of the world. Food, they're trying to stay alive, well, dead alive. They got their whole, like, politics and backstabbing. It's a different flavor of game entirely, utilizing the same world and the same system, which is really cool. And then when Vampire got real popular, they were like, well, why stop there? So they came out with Mage the Ascension, and they came out with Hunter the Reckoning, and they came out with Wraith the Oblivion, and they came out with Changeling the Dreaming. And so... What? Oh, yeah. So, like, any contemporary fantasy thing that you can think of, they got that shit covered. They've got that shit covered. So, as a young D&D nerd, playing 2nd edition D&D, I played a lot of Planescape. I was really into Planescape. I was into There Are Many Worlds, All Religions Are Correct, demons, devils, angels, robots, everything's just fighting each other all the time. So when I discovered Vampire the Masquerade and all of its friends, I was like, oh shit, like, this sounds pretty cool. Like, this is cool stuff. So I got into it, and there was definitely some culture shock, because you only roll d10s. It's almost entirely theater of the mind. It's not very combat-centric. At least Vampire isn't. Hunter the Reckoning, you just Buffy the Vampire Slayer and friends going around killing monsters and vampires and shit. So that's a lot of combat. And Werewolf, I mean, you're fucking werewolves. You're fighting, demons that are trying to destroy the earth. So there's a lot of combat there. But vampire is very like social. It's like very political, very maneuvering, very backstabbing. There are combats, and the combats are pretty awesome because you're vampires. But the focus of that particular facet of the World of Darkness, the vampires, is very like romancing and sexiness and role playing and backstabbing and just intrigue, and it's really it was such a culture shock for me to go from second edition D&D where you're just fucking murdering everybody to get loot, to go murder more people to get more loot, to go to this more grown up, right, this more mature storytelling focused game. But I really enjoyed it. But the problem was it was hard to find people my age that played Vampire. It was a lot of like older people played Vampire, and we didn't have we didn't have the internet back then. You know what I'm saying? At the strength that it is now. So, anyways, it was hard. It was hard to find people to play the game with. But then I found out that there was live action Vampire, and I was like, what is even happening here, right? And so in the city where I lived at the time, there was actually an active Vampire the Masquerade live action roleplay group. And it was all like seniors and young adults. So it was definitely a very intimidating crowd to hang out with, because I think I was like maybe 16 at the time, just had my driver's license and everything. And it was a whole thing. And like I remember it was culture shock all over again, because you go there and there's all these like goth theater kids and they're all pretending to be like vampires. And how do you determine who would win a roll? You're not going to pull out dice and roll them on the sidewalk or whatever. So here's the embarrassing truth about that. You play paper, rock, scissors to determine who wins a contested roll. So a contested roll in the live action is just paper, rock, scissors. There's no shouting fireball at each other or anything like that. It's a very dignified, very sophisticated game with some paper, rock, scissors thrown in there.
I guess I'm just thinking like
Yeah, so these
like,
people in full
vampire,
yeah, full vampire costume, the powdered skin to be extra pale, because not everybody is a vampire innately like me. So you got people out there that are like powdering the skin to be extra pale. They got the contacts and they got the fake fangs, and they're like, "Rrr." And then there's people that are like, I'm a werewolf, and they have to carry a latex werewolf mask in their back pocket. So when they wolf out, they put their latex mask on. I'm not saying this to make fun of this, because it was incredibly fun, and there was an opportunity to play live action Vampire at MagFest, and I do have some regrets that I didn't sign up for it, but we already had a pretty busy weekend planned. But it was a lot of fun. I do enjoy live action roleplay, because it is the ultimate example of do not let anybody yuck your yum, right? Do not be afraid of your cringe. Destroy the part of you that cringes. You know what I'm saying? So that you may enjoy fun. But anyways, I never really got a chance to get a lot of Vampire in. I tried a few years after high school to get an Exalted group together. So Exalted is a different world, but it's the same game system, and it's anime D&D essentially. It's anime D&D. So everything is like over the top. Like everything in that setting is just over the top. Like an archer shoots an arrow into the sky, and the arrow splits into 24 laser beams that come raining down on the battlefield. Like that's the kind of shit that you're doing in Exalted. Because the idea is that you're not just playing player character heroes, you're playing demigods. And so as you level up, you're awakening your latent like godhood and gaining more and more insane stuff. It's very, 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 very cool. Anyways, so that's my history with the game. Is I've always been fascinated with the setting. I've always loved the system, but I've never really had a chance to make a full run of it. I've never gotten to do more than like one shots or a couple games in a row kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Scottrick and I had been talking about it, and Scottrick had a friend who runs it for groups and stuff like that, and I tried to get something going with that person last year, I believe, and it was just too busy, just too much going on. So I guess Scottrick's thing for 2024, very similar to Red, they're going to try to run a different game system like every month, or they're just going to try as many new game systems as possible. So he said
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I know last year you were talking a lot about Vampire the Masquerade. I'm gonna run the intro one shot. Would you be interested? I'm like, yeah, I'd be fucking interested, of course. Um, so he all that right. Initial takes. One, I had heard Scottrick was a phenomenal game master. I had never, to the best of my recollection, gotten to experience it myself. And now that I have, I agree. I think Scottrick is a phenomenal storyteller and game master. Really,
Mm-hmm.
very skilled. Very skilled. Very charismatic, very skilled, very flexible. I was impressed. Um, Two, I lucked out. Everyone else I was playing with was awesome. So I had a really great group to play with. We had three other people, me and Scottrick. So it was a very, very fun and interesting group. Um, we played pre-cons. I will say this: all four of the pre-cons, the one I played and the three that I played alongside, were great. Sometimes it feels like pre-cons are dialed in. Sometimes it feels like they just were like, well, I want to make this precon as sort of vanilla as possible, so whoever's playing it can kind of make it their own.
Mm-hmm.
These felt like I had shown up for like improv night, and they were like, this is the character you're going to play. And he had like motivations, and he had ticks and quirks, and I was basically getting like notes from the director, like this is his motivation, this is what he would do. This like it wasn't like, oh, he's just a guy, and I guess figure it out. Like they told me like this is the guy you're going to be playing, and this is how he should be played, and I kind of liked that. I kind of liked having
Mm-hmm.
that guidance there for the character, and the designs of the characters very much encompassed the flavor of that, like the flavor of the game that they were representing. And when I say that, there are not classes in Vampire the Masquerade, but there are bloodlines. So different vampire bloodlines have developed over the centuries or whatever, and for different lore reasons. And they just focus on different things. So like Gangrel, they focus more on like the primal vampire powers, like turning into
Mm-hmm.
wolf and turning into animals and being able to control and speak with animals. So they're much more like rugged and like outdoorsy and animal centric, right? So you're not a ranger, right? You're not a druid, but you're more inclined towards that flavor and towards developing vampire powers related to those things. And then like there's the Malkavians who have crazy blood, and it just makes them crazy. Which gives them some, crazy oracle-like powers, right? Like a mad genius kind of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. There's the Bruja who are like, I mean, if biker gang was a blood type, like that's kind of like their blood type is like biker gang blood
It's like
type.
strength of body and
Yeah,
personality.
without making D&D comparisons too hard, I'll make D&D comparisons. They're kind of like the half orcs of like they're kind of like the half orc Goliaths of like the vampire world kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you got your hoity-toities, and then you got your magic users, and of course when the game got popular, they just started churning out all these splat books like they do. So you had your core bloodlines, but then you had supplements come out for all kinds of different bloodlines that you could be and stuff. But
When I
what's neat about it is you have your bloodline, but then, and that defines you a little bit, but then there's a skill system similar to Cyberpunk, but less wide. And you just pick what you want. You just pick what you want. You're like, oh, I want to be good at guns, but I also want to be good at computers. And I also want to be fast, but
Yep.
I want to be healthy. And I don't think I need to be strong, but I definitely want to be smart. And so you're just taking these little dots and you're just putting them in like you're filling out like a little Scantron sheet. And you're like, yeah, I got 3 out of 5 smarts, and I've got 4 out of 5 guns. And then as you are playing the game, there are some recommended combos for things. But then there's also, of course, the 5e minigame of bullshitting your DM into letting you use a different skill for a different attribute for a skill than you normally would, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, can I seduce this person with my Game Boy by using charisma, technology? instead of like just the normal skill that I would use, and that I think makes it a really organic and like enjoyable experience because it really does like encourage you as a player to look for those opportunities of like what am I good at and how can I leverage what I am good at to deal with this thing, right? Like to deal with this situation. Like and it's not waffling, you know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of the design of the system, right? Is to encourage you to be
Yeah.
like to find a way for your character to be successful in a situation. Um, yeah, so it was really really fun, and immediately my heart was just full because I've always loved that design of like I I am this, right? I am this. I am a Malkavian or I am a Bruja or whatever. I'm a Gangrel. I'm a Nosferatu. But that's not all that I am, right? And then there's no one that says, "Oh, so you're a Bruja fighter." No, I'm a Bruja who is good at fighting,
Yeah. Skill based game.
and I'm also good at driving a motorcycle, and I'm also really
Yeah.
good at intimidating people. So it might look like I'm a fighter, right? But I'm not a fighter. I'm my character, and these are the things that my character happens to be
Yeah.
really good at. What I didn't see that was in the editions that I played as a kid was you could also specialize. So you could be like good at driving, but then you could have either a little specialization or a hyper focused specialization. So you could say, I've got 4 out of 5 for driving, but I specialize in motorcycles. So when I drive a motorcycle, treat it as having 5 for that instead of 4. Or you could say, I'm really good at driving, but I'm the best at driving my motorcycle. And so you
Mhm.
get 2 extra dice, but only when you're driving your motorcycle. No, you don't get that bonus for anything else.
That
And
reminds me of Fate.
yeah, oh Fate,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I love that kind of design. I love that kind of system. Yeah, just it's oh okay. Apparently, Scotric says the specializations are still there. So like, I love that. And then as a D&D person, when I played Exalted and I saw that I could be playing high magic D&D with this character building system and this like dice rolling system and this like success system, I was overjoyed. And let me tell you, one of the saddest things in the world is that I could never get a group together to play Exalted. Because man, that you want to talk about something on my bucket list. I would love to run an Exalted campaign because it would be the
Mm.
best of both worlds. It would be running some Dungeons and Dragons, and it would be running some World of Darkness at the same time. And like that,
I bet if you were to put that out on a game listing, it would probably fill up instantly.
you think? I mean, it's good shit, man. It's good shit. What I also loved was the Foundry support for it was I don't know why I'm surprised anymore, but it was surprisingly good. Like it was like okay, go to roll check, and you click to roll check, and it says cool. So what 2 things are you doing? What attribute and what skill? And then you tell it, and then like Pathfinder 2, it says okay, are there any other things I need to know before I roll these dice? So I guess that's where specialization or circumstance stuff would come in. You hit the button, it rolls the dice, and it figures all that shit out for you. It just figures it out for you. Because how they do it is just like you have a DC in Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, the GM, storyteller, whatever, decides like, oh, you're trying to lean out the car window and fire at the van behind you with with your firearm without falling out the window, and you're trying to shoot out the windshield and the tires, bro. That's going to be an 8 out of 10 difficulty, right? And you're like, that's cool because I roll 9 fucking dice to do that. So you roll 9 d10s, and then any ones that you get complicate shit. Any 10s that you get count as like 2 successes or whatever. And then if you are hitting the number or higher, that's a success. And generally, as long as you have like that 1 success, you still manage to do the thing that you were trying to do. But the more successes you have, the better. And then what I noticed with the 5th edition system for Vampire is that it was adding this thing called messy success, where you would succeed, but you would succeed and your vampire um, hunger, your nature, your supernatural nature, would kind of push past your humanity. And so you, as the player, had to explain why it was a success, but it was a messy success,
Hmm.
which I thought was really cool. Like maybe you went to intimidate somebody, but you got a messy success on your intimidate. So not only did you intimidate them, but you might have revealed to them that you were a vampire. You know what I'm saying? You might have like bared your fangs.
Yeah.
You might have leaned in and smelled them or something like that to really like make them nervous. Like, so I loved the fact that the players were also storytellers. Like I really, and that's something I've always loved about White Wolf games, is that everyone at the table is a storyteller. Everyone is telling the story, and I love that. I love that.
I think I think that's a thing with any skill based game, not a
Mm-hmm.
class based game, but like a skill based like Cyberpunk. Yeah, you have roles, but it's a skill based game. You whatever role you pick, you can be I'm good at driving, or you decide to put points in driving. You decide to put points into athletic. You decide to put points into conversation. And that's your character. Your skills are your character. A lot of times it's like, okay, how do you? It's very easy when it's skills like that to have a player explain how they use that skill to fail or succeed when it's a skill based system rather than like a class based system. I think
Mm.
it's like as you're describing it, like I'm like seeing the parallels between the two systems, and like it is just the fact that it's skill based. Like your character is your character, not your class.
Yeah, and you guys told me you more than anyone else told me last year when I was really having my crisis of faith with WotC's decisions, Hasbro's nonsense,
Mm-hmm.
finally trying out Pathfinder, enjoying it, but sorry Pathfinder kids, not loving it. You know what I'm saying? Like I love being a player in it. I like running it, and I think it is a great game, but as I have told many people, it is not my game. Like it's not my game. It's not the I don't think like I would run this for the rest of my life. Do you know what I'm saying? I think like, oh, this is enjoyable. I definitely want to run Kingmaker. I'm gonna level up running Outlaws, and then I'm gonna run Kingmaker. It's gonna be good, right? I'm gonna put the time in. I'm gonna play some Pathfinder. I'm gonna run some Pathfinder. It's good times. When I was playing like last Saturday, when I was playing Vampire last Saturday, it felt so comfortable and so like stress free. Like even though your character could die horribly at any time, right? You stake through the heart, you could get burnt alive, you could get trapped outside and the sun kills you. There's a million ways to die, right? It just felt so loose in the best ways. You know what I'm saying? It didn't feel
It,
loose. It didn't feel loose.
loose, but
It
not broken.
right. It didn't feel loose in like in the 5e way, right? Where they're like, we didn't really know what we were doing when we made 5th edition, only that corporate told us it couldn't look like 4th edition, right? And then we included a lot of stuff that doesn't even get used. We invented a lot of tiers of play, and then we immediately made them worthless with a handful of spells and class features. There's no balance. And anytime we write ourselves into a corner, we just say it's up to the DM to figure out how this works. And I don't feel that should count as game design. Like I don't feel like that's good game design. I feel, or I felt at least when I was playing the game, that Scottrick had all the tools he needed to run the game just off of our character sheets. Like just off of our character sheets, he had everything he needed to run the game. And I'm sure there's a lot more behind the scenes. I remember reading the GM books, the monster books, things like that. When I was a kid trying to get people to play a game and get my own game together and not actually being able to do it. Um, and like there is a lot of heavy lifting, and I joke around about how you need an honor, a master's degree in English lit to read Pathfinder material. These guys are the same fucking way. These theater kids with their vampire game is the same way. It's like way too wordy, way too much descriptions when you don't need it, way too flowery when they could just give you the fucking facts. But like the core system, the system itself, it it really resonates with me. And I really love that. Just, oh yeah, pick two. You pick two, right? You're at fucking Panera. Pick two. An attribute and a skill. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. Now, I would say that if you are a Pathfinder kid, right? If you need the structure of Pathfinder or Pathfinder 2, and you have trouble trusting the storyteller to give you a fair, equitable experience, I don't know if you'll be able to enjoy Vampire, because I think much like 5th edition, White Wolf, Vampire, all those games are so dependent on having a tremendously skilled storyteller. I do think that is the case. I do think that you would need a tremendously skilled storyteller. And I think, in all honesty, I think that I am a very skilled storyteller, and I could probably run a pretty fucking awesome game in that system. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since I played it on Saturday. I just keep thinking about it, and my brain's like, here's some dopamine for thinking about that game, because I had that much fun playing it. And it also reminded me of the many times in my life where I had gotten so excited about the world design, the flavor, the game design. I had written, I'm going to make you sad right now. I had written an entire homebrew campaign for Changeling the Dreaming. I convinced my D&D group to let me run them through it, and they quit on me in the first session, the first hour of the first session, because they didn't like only being able to roll d10s. And I had written, like, I had spent so much time, I had failed math so that I could write this campaign for them, and I was so proud of it. And then they were just like, let's just play D&D. I don't, yeah. They're like, I don't like there being cars. I don't like there being cars. I was just like, damn, bro. Damn. And then when 3rd edition came out, they had something called D20 Modern, which was contemporary fantasy using the 3rd Age of Magic game system, right? So Pathfinder 1 and 3rd edition D&D, but modern day times. And that was the closest I ever got to getting some real World of Darkness time in with D&D players. Is I did run a series of one-shots, contemporary fantasy one-shots, using that, and I always enjoyed it. I love contemporary fantasy so much, as you've seen with the isekai games that I've been sneaking in. It's just my favorite flavor of story is contemporary fantasy. So for me, World of Darkness and Vampire and all that, it hits all the right spots for me. So it was great. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's check out chat. Unless you had more questions for me. If you have,
I guess I want to ask how.
Okay.
How did you like your character? Like.
Oh, who didn't like Jay? Come on, who didn't like Jay? I mean, Jay was a great character. So, when I said that they gave us a lot of directions about how to play the character, I didn't realize that until after we had started the game, because I didn't read my entire character sheet. Because even though Dom voted me most improved player of 2023, I'm still a pretty bad player. So I showed up for the game and I was like, he's Malkavian. I got to make him sound crazy. I got to give him something that makes him crazy. I was like, it'd be pretty funny if, as a former professional poker player, he narrates everything he's doing like a fucking anime character. Like an anime protagonist. Like, when they have inner monologues in anime, and it's like really cool or whatever, he does that, but he actually says all of his inner monologues out loud. And so I started doing that, and then, I didn't want to be a spotlight hog, so I would occasionally just mute my mic so Jay would shut up, right? I would just mute my mic, so I wouldn't interrupt anybody else when they were doing their vampire stuff or whatever. But then while I was muted, I'm like reading my character sheet, and it's like, Jay's madness. As a former poker player who's used to keeping secrets, but has a very active mind, Jay likes to inner monologue, but now, as a result of the Malkavian blood, he does all his inner monologues out loud. And I was like, what the fuck? So that was kind of neat. to like have my quote unquote original idea that I was so proud of. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. This is really slapping. Everybody's like really enjoying Jay having this inner monologue, and then it's like, oh, I was supposed to do that the whole time. Yeah. So I really, yeah, it was great. I love the Malkavians. They're my favorite. They're my favorite vampire clan, obviously, because I love crazy PCs so much. If you're curious, my favorite werewolf tribe is the Glasswalkers. Mm. So the Glasswalkers are the most tech-savvy werewolves. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cyber werewolves.
Yeah, cyber werewolves, and their totem spirit is the Weaver because she invented the fucking internet, baby.
Yeah.
So like a spider, like a shaman spirit, like a spider spirit, like like fucking Spider-Verse, Madam Web shit.
That's why it's called the World Wide Web.
Yeah, exactly. So she invented the internet essentially to give them a weapon to fight against the corruption that's using like big corpo to destroy the planet and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's my favorite. That's my favorite werewolf tribe is the Glasswalkers, and then the Malkavians are my favorite bloodline.
It started with a T. It was the mage people that I played.
Tremere.
Tremere, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the people whenever I played the game.
So if you enjoyed the mages, there's a whole fucking game called Mage the Ascension, and you're just like human wizards. You're just human wizards in the modern age. It ain't no Harry Potter shit. And the lore for it is crazy. For example, the moon landing was faked because they didn't want people to actually go to the moon with a spaceship and find out it was full of fey creatures. Because the good wizards had to move all of the fey creatures to the moon to keep them safe from mankind outgrowing magic and embracing technology. So the moon is full of like unicorns and fairies and shit like that.
Wow.
And this is the same this is the same world where vampires are having dinner parties to stab each other in the back. This is the same world. Like you look up at the moon and there's a unicorn up there. And I was like, this game's amazing. This game's amazing. Like everything I learned about it's just more and more amazing. So it was really good. It was really good. Let's see. Let's check. Unless you have another question, we'll check chat real quick.
Yeah, we check chat.
All right, let's see. All right. Scottrick battling imposter syndrome. All right. And then we got Raptor says, I feel like Masquerade is the single best word for it. It is. All of the blanks are so aptly named. They're so aptly named. I love it. Let's see. Jones says, I played One World by Night for 2 years out of Minneapolis, which is the LARP, the live action roleplay of Vampire, and says, it was definitely a mixed bag of off-duty cops and goth kids. What an awkward situation, too, when you got off-duty cops making out with high school goth girls. And wait, is Mishka Peterson available to tell us how it was? Hold on, here we go.
That's problematic.
Problematic.
Yeah, it was problematic. Let me tell you, it was definitely some problematic shit. On the topic of problematic, I would say that you would need one hell of a session 0 if you want to run and stream a World of Darkness game, a vampire game, because man, vampires by design, they don't really respect consent or personal space or humanity or like there's going to be some real problematic elements in your game. This is a very mature, very very sexy, very mature, very problematic game. So it is very important if you decide to play or run that there's a lot of communication up front, because man, there's going to be some real troubling shit that is covered in these games, and so you're going to want to make sure that you have all that sorted. I was supposed to switch the backdrop. Oh well. Let's see what else. Free gens were well made. Agreed. Oh yes, the player who played Marsh, the Marsh voice acting was amazing. So Marsh,
voice, yeah.
Marsh was our Nosferatu, and man, it was Oof, they did such a fantastic job of with that character voice and with the way they handled the character. Um, there was like a quiet menace to the character, but like at the same time, I as Jay, I never felt that the menace of that character was something I needed to worry about because they did such a good job of having that undercurrent of kindred where we're all like sharing blood and shared experience and we're all we have in the world now is each other. So even though you could tell that Marsh was like, man, it'd be pretty cool if Jay got hit by a fucking bus, it was also like, what am I gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like I need these people because my life's been turned fucking upside down. Like I got to figure out what to do, and it was really well, it was well executed, well executed.
Also, Marsh seemed like the one that had the most, all of his senses, most of his senses. Like he's like, what the heck is why are you guys doing this?
Right?
Like,
yeah. They were the most. They looked the most monstrous, but they were trying the hardest, I think, to hold on to their humanity. But if you watch the whole venture, by the end,
but they felt that.
by the end, they
Chad.
leaned in. Yeah, they leaned in real hard on that Chad. So it was so good. It was so good. Let's see. Hashtag blow off Tetris. Yeah, so I managed to finagle technology seduction in the game, so I was pretty happy about that. It was a nice scene. It was definitely a scene that I could picture in like a shitty Netflix vampire show. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of the scenes I could definitely picture as a shitty Netflix show. Not to say that the game was shitty, or that Scottrick ran a shitty game. But it was the flavor, right? It was very like CW. It was very CW. It was very CW Showtime vampire show. Like it was good. It was really good. It did exactly what, at least for me, what I wanted it to do. It had the feel that I was looking for. Let's see. Automation from Foundry is great for helping you sort the dice pools because interpreting them can get very messy. Yeah, I loved how it just told me, you rolled these dice against this difficulty, this is what happened. I didn't have to figure anything out. It was better than just doing the math for me. It just told me, this is what happens. It had that feeling of being on improv, and they're just like, okay, and now this. And you're like, sweet, okay, cool. Let's see. Scottrick makes it look easy to run anything. I'm not sucking up just because he's my normal DM. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But Scottrick is brilliant. And I can tell you that under the hood on the storyteller side, that yeah, I mean, there's a lot of content you have to sort of parse and sift through to get to the meat of the system. Let's see. System seems like it takes care to be comfortable in the GM and player's hands. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Scottrick said, but besides Crash, the other three were regular players of mine. Okay, well, I'm glad that I didn't make it too weird for them. That's good. And then
on Saturday, I would have joined.
It was fun. It was good stuff. It's good stuff. Let's see. Someone said, yeah, Session 0 is definitely needed for a game like this. All right, and then Minneapolis game was Sabbath St. Paul. I was Camarilla. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. But, anyways, that's it. We're at our 1 hour mark. So I think it's a pretty good progress report, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am further intrigued by Cyberpunk, but I don't think I'm ready to go all the way. Maybe if my schedule allows, I'll try one of these Cyberpunk one-shots. Give it another chance. I enjoyed it when I played as an old lady driving a car and you let me run people over with the car. That was very fun. I did enjoy that. I've enjoyed listening to your Cyberpunk game. I love the group that you have. It's just a great group of players. Yeah. And so I am more curious about the system. But I would say if I had the choice to play another World of Darkness one-shot or anything else, I would probably sign up for another World of Darkness one-shot for sure. Because, man, it was a ton of fun. Could it be a back burner project for me to kind of, relearn the system, read through the 5th edition and all that? I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And I believe a couple of years ago, another company bought the rights to Exalted and did a Kickstarter to re-release Exalted. So there is still that
I
as well. Yeah.
I mean, maybe instead of doing those two Cobalt King,
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
maybe just do one and the other one's a vampire or exalted.
Oof, that could work pretty good. That could pretty good. Oh
Just a
man.
a short 10 session campaign.
Yeah.
Your
So,
feet wet.
we'll see. We'll see. Short. I definitely want to stick with short games for the foreseeable future. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, we are donezos for this week. I got a game tomorrow. Got some Kingdom Death tomorrow afternoon. I might do a Kingdom Death book report on it. Sunday, Curse of Strahd Daybreak continues to fall apart. And Sunday night, Mythic continues to fall apart. Good times.
Yep.
But Monday, Best Boys Sunset. Well, they actually had a really. It was pretty rough.
They're putting themselves back together right now.
Listen. Anyways, we got a lot of games. A lot of games going on the server, and you just posted tonight your Strength of Thousands game, which strategically is on a Tuesday, starting in April, which is it's very tempting to me. It's very tempting. I may have to put in an application. Does it need to be a video application, or can we just apply?
No.
Oh, okay.
If you there's a link there that tells you how to apply.
Fair. All right. Yeah, so if you guys are free on Tuesday nights and interested, Dom has posted a game on Tuesday nights, Strength of Thousands, 1 to 20 Magic Wizard School in Magic Africa. So, I mean, literally play like any character you could imagine, plus you get to be a wizard. It's pretty cool. So, alright, on that note, we will adjourn for the night. We probably will meet up again next Friday for another VodCast. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Alrighty, take care.
Yeah. Oh, and if you liked our new thumbnails, tell us in the comments, because we worked really hard. We read the analytics, the data, we crunched the fucking numbers, we posed for those photos. Those are real photos of our faces, maybe, that making those poggers faces. So if if you're into that, there's more where that came from. Just saying. Maybe we'll just actually work hard on all the thumbnails. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, that's it. Good night.